and welcome to another Mission Unstoppable Radio. Thank you again for joining us today. Let me ask you something. What happens when an atheist knocks on heaven's door? Well, I can tell you someone answers, and then they put her to work. As a result of her near-death experiences, Nancy Rynes teaches others how to live a more purposeful, joyful, and heaven-inspired life. But she wasn't always this upbeat, positive soul that you're going to meet today. Nancy was a former Catholic who had downgraded to atheist by the time she had her near-death experience in 2014. She lived and worked in Colorado. She'd done graduate coursework in geology at the University of Colorado and was working in a software development and training for a remote sensing company in the geology field. Road cycling was her passion, and she often rode 30 to 40 miles several times a week. Wow. And if the latter part of 2013 could choose a color, for her, I think it would have been multiple shades of gray. The end of October saw a potential new relationship end. An anniversary of a sister's death saddened her. And almost to the day, Nancy also had a car accident of her own on November the 25th, leaving her feeling bruised and a bit out of sorts. Come December, Nancy began having strange dreams. She didn't know what or how or why, but she felt like her life was going to change drastically. She mentioned this to one of her sisters. Enter January 3rd, 2014, a new year. The sun's shining, the temperature's a balmy 60 degrees. The minor injuries from her car accident had healed, and she's about to lose that cabin fever she was feeling in December. The time had come to shake off the cobwebs and get back to doing what she loved to do, cycling. Please welcome Nancy Rynes. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Frankie. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me on today. I appreciate it.
You had a horrific experience. Why don't you, I brought us up to the point. Why don't you take us through, take us to the roundabout?
Sure. So I went off on my bike ride as Frankie led into that. And it was really just going to be a quick bike ride around town to run errands, which is no big deal. I did that quite a bit. And I went off, and within a half a mile of my home, I entered a roundabout traffic circle that had just been put in my town. And there was a bike lane kind of coming in and a bike lane on the other side, but the bike lane sort of disappeared in the middle of this roundabout. So I did exactly what you're supposed to do, which is like take the whole lane. There was a guy in a car behind me, and I could see some traffic kind of coming in like from my right on another road that was coming in. And it looked like those folks were going to stop, and that lead car looked like it wasn't really going too fast. But then I got up to where that road came in, and I could see that the woman who was driving it was actually starting to speed up rather than stop. And I didn't have any room to maneuver since there was a car behind me. So what ended up happening is she hit me. She didn't see me. She was too busy, it turns out, with her phone, and didn't see that anybody was in the traffic circle already. So she hit me broadside on my bicycle, and I ended up kind of on the hood of her SUV, just kind of like I remember trying to hold onto the hood of her vehicle. And as I was doing that, I was looking in at her, and she had her phone like perched on top of her steering wheel. She's trying to steer, text, and drive all at the same time.
And there's this like bump. Somebody's looking at you through your windshield, and you're still texting.
And like, she didn't notice. Yeah, she didn't see me.
How does that happen?
So she kept driving, and I'll try to make this a little bit short, but I couldn't hang on longer, you know. So
I'm going to stop you, because in the book you say first, you're hanging on to the windshield. Then now you're hanging onto the bumper. Now you're down at the license plate, trying not to get yourself underneath. Right? Okay.
It was kind of like one of those. I always liken it to those old Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote cartoons, where Wile E. Coyote is trying to hang on to the side of this cliff as he's going over, and that's what this felt like.
Wow. It
felt like a cartoon. It was that weird that she kept driving. I couldn't hang on. I kept slipping and slipping. Finally, I went over the front, the front part of her vehicle and hit the pavement, and I could hear my left shoulder hit, my left hip hit, and I did end up breaking this collarbone here. And then my pelvis broke, it cracked. It wasn't fully broken, but it did crack. But as I hit the pavement, something really weird happened. And as someone who'd been kind of stuck in the material only world for so long, meaning, you know, if I couldn't measure it with my tape measure, it didn't
Right.
exist. I didn't know what was happening to me. All of a sudden I noticed that my consciousness was outside of my body and in it at the same time, which was really weird. And you know, that moment that this happened, I thought, wow, I don't know what that's all about. It's really weird. There was a part of me, I call it my higher self, the very together, calm, peaceful part of me was watching the whole accident unfold from about, I don't know, 50 to 75 feet off to the side, kind of in, you know, out of the lanes of traffic, just watching everything happen. And then of course, you know, my human consciousness was still in this body that at that point was being dragged underneath of her vehicle. So as she kept driving, you know, here I am, she drove over the top of me and I got hooked. It was like my clothing and my backpack got hooked on the underneath of her vehicle and got stuck. And then I also, realizing what could happen, I think, just not inadvertently, but involuntarily, you know, unconsciously reached up and grabbed a hold of, I think it was her axle, so that I wouldn't get run over by her back wheels, because she was in a turn, you know, going around the roundabout. So it wasn't like she was going to run right over, you know, I was going to be right through the middle of her tires. I knew I could see those back wheels coming at me and knew that they were going to run right over the top of me because she was in this turn. So I grabbed onto something just to make sure that I wasn't going to get run over. I had just assumed that she knew she hit someone and was going to stop, but she didn't. She kept driving. And so
you're watching this from above.
I'm like, terrified.
When are you going to know, lady, that, you know,
right. I mean, all I can think about underneath as the me that was under the vehicle was absolute terror. You know, I was scared. I didn't, it was beyond rational thought at that point. Like, just
like, make it stop.
Right. Yeah, that's basically what it was. It was over and over and over again. Like, oh my God, you know, what's happening, and just fear. But that part of me, the funny thing is that part of me that was outside, that was standing off to the side, it was like hands clasped, like, you know, kind of just in a peaceful, open-handed mode, like everything's going to be just fine. If everything is happening as it should, everything's going to be just fine. And while it's painful, in the end, it will be okay. And there was this really odd dichotomy. Like, I remember the me underneath the vehicle was like, what? That's not right. This is, you know, this hurts. This is terrible. I'm scared. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But there was that other me, that higher self, that was just very in tune with what was supposed to be going on for me in that moment, and that it would be okay. And obviously it was okay, because I'm here.
Yeah. But that split consciousness, you know, happened at the scene, and then other people ran to her and said, hey, you know, you've got somebody under your car.
Right. Yeah. So the bystander stopped her, and luckily they actually stopped her relatively quickly. I mean, it wasn't like she drove for miles. It felt like it, but it was only, you know, 50 to 60 feet.
Just long enough.
Just long enough.
And she yelled at you, Nancy? She yelled at you?
She did. She was mad at me.
What nerve.
She got out of the vehicle and was yelling at me, you know.
How old was she about? Like, was she millennial, or what was she?
She was, at that point, so this was about 5 years ago, she was 29.
29. Okay. All right. Yeah. So young.
Relatively young.
But hard to believe that she'd yell at you for hitting you.
Yeah. She also had.
Do you have, like, sorry, I just wanted to ask you, do you guys have, because I'm in Canada, do you have laws against cell phone use in a car in Colorado?
They had just passed one, like, within a few months before my accident.
Okay.
And I want to say it was definitely less than a year. So it was a fairly new law, and the prosecuting attorneys in Colorado were yet unfamiliar how to prosecute these. Now that, the police officers actually did write tickets for it, but at that time, prosecuting attorneys didn't know how to prosecute these cases. So it was still in that kind of gray area where things really didn't get prosecuted very well.
Yeah.
But there were the laws were on the books. So anyway, she finally stopped. The bystanders started to push the vehicle off me a little bit, and I was like struggling to get out from underneath of this car, and I wanted to run away. The first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to yell back at her, and then I wanted to run away. But luckily there was a woman who looked like late 20s, early 30s, who ran up a different woman. She was blonde, beautiful. To me, looked beautiful. I don't know. I was like in a weird state, but she had a blonde ponytail and ran up and put her hands kind of like on my shoulders. She said, "My name is Anne. I'm a trauma nurse. You need to stay safe. I'll stay with you until the paramedics get here, but you need to stay calm and on the ground." And if she hadn't done that, I don't know if I'd have survived, because my back and neck were so badly broken.
Wow.
That I likely would have been a paraplegic. Well, there's no doubt about it. I would have been a paraplegic had I tried to get up. My back was that badly broken. And potentially I would have been a quadriplegic, because my neck was pretty bad too. But luckily she was there and stepped in and saved me before the paramedics took me off to the emergency room.
So you get to the emergency room and you're going to have surgery, which is the second of the NDs.
Right. Yeah. Really? So that was in the ER, they decided that I needed to have surgery because I had so many broken bones in my back that there was really no way that this was going to heal up on its own in any timely manner. I'd be in a bed for 6 months at least. So we went into surgery. This happened on a Friday. The accident happened on a Friday. Surgery was scheduled for the following Monday. So I was, in the hospital for those few days waiting. But then during I was brought into the OR, kind of wanting to get it over with, but feeling a little bit nervous and a little fearful about it at the same time, because it was a big deal,
Yeah, no kidding. They're going to touch your spine.
Yeah, it's big invasive surgery. So I went in and they started to inject me with the general anesthetic, which I'd had before. It hadn't been a problem before, but this time, from what the nurses later told me, I ended up basically coding. Now they don't call codes in the OR, but my heart rate stopped, my blood pressure went to 0, and I stopped breathing. So, effectively, my body was in the beginning phases of dying. But I didn't know that. So what happened to me is, I drifted off. I thought, it was no big deal. I was going to go into surgery and blah, blah, blah. But then I woke up, and that's not normal for surgery. You don't wake up.
No, you don't wake up and then,
Yeah, and because the whole point of it is to bring your consciousness to nothing. You're not supposed to be conscious of anything at all, even dreaming. You're not supposed to dream at all.
Yeah.
And so I had this experience of waking up, and I was fully lucid. It wasn't like there was anything hazy or hallucinatory about it. It was fully lucid, very rational. I'm standing up on a hillside looking out at this beautiful landscape, and this is not normal. Because first of all, I'm standing up.
Yeah. And you're having surgery right now.
And I knew also, I knew that I was in surgery, which was really weird that I was in this state, and I knew that my body was on the operating table. And the other thing that started to strike me as a little odd was that I felt connected to the world around me in a way that didn't exist here in Earth. And I felt peace coming through me as if it were like a warm force, almost like standing in front of a fireplace on a cold winter's day. Like you feel that heat kind of radiate. This felt like peace radiating through me, and love and acceptance radiating through me in a way that it's almost impossible to describe. It was like I was being hugged or held, almost like you would hold a baby, like held and with huge loving arms. And then I was doing one of these. I felt that, and I noticed that, and I'm like, this isn't normal. I realized then that this has got to be something really weird happening. And the first thing that popped into my mind was, holy cow, I wonder if I died on the operating table. And then my next thought was, well, if I did, why am I here? Because I don't believe in any of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in, any kind of supreme
Afterlife.
deity or consciousness or afterlife. But the whole question was, why am I here? What is this?
That's an interesting question. I interviewed, I don't know if you know Dr. P.M.H. Atwater, who
Yep.
did the big book of Death and Dying, and I interviewed
Yeah.
Phyllis like 3 times. And, the experiences that she says is that people usually have the experience of dying, what their belief system is, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to meet Jesus, you're going to meet Jesus. And if you think you're not going anywhere, you don't go anywhere, kind of thing. And so for you to have this experience and to go to this beautiful place, you said it wasn't heaven. I like that it was a green room for heaven.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Kind of like the waiting room, right?
Yeah. You're in the green room. Yeah, we're gonna get an interview, but I'm just waiting. Hanging out.
that was the best analogy for it. It really wasn't the full-on experience of heaven, because what I found out later is that for me to go there to the full, what I call full-blown heaven or full-blown afterlife, you have to fully physically die. You have to completely cease the connection with the physical.
Yeah.
And that wasn't going to happen for me, even though I wanted it to.
So you met a being. You met somebody.
Met a being. Yeah. And I met a being, and she looked like a she, but it turns out that, she was wearing that. She called it like a costume or a cloak, just to make me feel a little bit more comfortable, so that I could learn what I needed to learn in order to go back to my life. And I heard the go back to my life part and kind of threw a little fit, because I didn't want to go back. I mean, I liked this so much that I assumed that real heaven, when my body fully died, would be way better. Like, whoa, this is just a little piece of it. So the real thing must be amazing.
You can just imagine then how difficult it is for us to reincarnate when it's so amazing there, to make that choice.
Yeah. There are things that we can do and learn here that are more challenging to do and learn in spirit. So it's almost like an accelerated learning program here, if you can think about it that way. For some people are here to learn, and this is a quick way to learn some things. And so I can see where at some point you might want to say, yeah, I think I'm ready to go back now. But when you're here, it's like, whoa, I kind of forgot about all that stuff, like how tough it would be to do X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
But she showed me this kind of like a video almost in the air in front of me, of me agreeing to go back, of having this experience that I was having, of the accident, of this surgery, of all of this stuff I was experiencing, having this kind of like a reintroduction to my spiritual self in heaven, and then coming back, that was part of my plan with whatever divine being that you want to call it, that divine consciousness. I had made that agreement, and she showed me kind of a video of me making that agreement to come back here. And then once she showed that to me, I was like, okay, well, I guess I have some learning to do, and I'll learn what I need to learn. I was still kind of hedging my bets. I was hoping that I would fully die and go on. I mean, that's really what my hope was, but I went along with it and learned so much from this being that, it would probably fill many books, quite frankly. It was, for me, the most transformative, and it continues. I mean, even today, 5 years later, continues to be transformative in my life. It's almost like the teachings that she gave me, for example, divine love and love in the universe. Just that one teaching alone, I keep thinking about it over and over, and I learn more about it the more I think about it and feel into it. And I go into it in my silent times. I just allow that knowledge and that piece of divine love to be part of me. And the more I do that, it's like I'm peeling back more layers of that onion and learning more about it. It's it continues to unfold. I mean, I can understand now the metaphor or the analogy of the lotus blossom in Eastern religions, you know, because a lotus blossom, when it blooms a little bit at a time, and it keeps unfolding and keeps unfolding and keeps unfolding. And that's what this has been like. I keep learning more about what I learned the more I dig into it, and it just evolves over time.
Well, you got a lot of information,
Yeah.
in a very short period of time, really.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like when you decided to write the book, I'm sure that it was just downloaded, like you just went right to your fingers.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was already there. I remembered pretty much everything. I mean, there were some details that I didn't quite remember when I woke up in the recovery room, but for the most part, it was all there. It was really a matter of being able to write, because I was in such bad shape that I actually couldn't even lift. Now, my arm was not broken, but my neck was,
right,
and so I couldn't even lift my arm really to write anything. And that's, as soon as I could do that, I started writing, like you said, and it was just like 3 months of just writing in notebooks, trying to get.
Oh, you wrote in notebooks. Wow.
Yeah.
Did and the people that knew pre-Nancy, were they like shocked to meet post-Nancy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I did. I think there were a few of my kind of more sciencey friends that backed off, but for the most part, luckily people stuck with me, which is good. I'm not real preachy about what happened, and so it took me a while to talk to them about it. But what I've heard from people is, you're so much more peaceful now. And one of my friends, who I didn't tell her at the time what happened. It took me several months. She came and visited me in the hospital several times while I was there. And she was very spiritual. I was not. Somehow we managed to stay friends. I don't know how we did that, but she came into the hospital room and said, "What happened? You're glowing." And so I didn't tell her for a while, but she kept saying, "What, something's different. You're glowing. You shouldn't be glowing. You're broken into pieces like Humpty Dumpty, but you're glowing." And I heard that from a lot of other people. And I heard also that you're just so peaceful and calm. And they were happily surprised, but very surprised. And some members of my family were very surprised that I was never angry with the person who hit me. After, not before the NDE, but after the NDE. Like, my niece said, "How can you not be mad at her?" I said, "Well, I'm not."
I get that. I was reading your book, and we have such similar experiences. It was like blowing my mind. Okay. I was hit on my motorcycle.
Oh, wow.
T-bone on my motorcycle. Broke both, femurs, hip, pelvis, everything, laying on the side of the road, 6 months in the hospital. And then I get to the point in your book, you go, and I'm laying on an air mattress. I was on the air mattress, and the electricity went out, and poof, I went down. Poof, you went down, and nobody knew how to put it back up. And you're laying there with a broken hip, and they're on metal now, right? Where before it was like, ah. And I'm like, oh my God, Nancy, I get it. Going through this, I was never upset. I knew why it happened. I just felt like spirit, I had a job I have to do now. And just this whole, spiritual events happening one after another, and reading all the books that you started to read and doing all the same things. I'm just like, oh, wow, how crazy is that?
Yeah.
And painting and everything. Like, it was crazy. So it's very interesting to hear your story. And I have to ask you why you think, because it happens to so many people I've interviewed, the wake-up call is traumatic. So traumatic. It happens in a trauma. There's usually an accident. There's something life-altering, chaos. I know change happens best in chaos, but some really life-altering event that happens, and then the switch.
Yeah, I'd had 2 opportunities before to make this switch, and they were very gentle opportunities, relatively gentle opportunities, and I didn't. And so for me, I could, in hindsight, I could see that, here was event 1, I let it slide by me and I stayed an atheist. Here's event 2, I let that slide by, with my eyes closed. I didn't want to see what was happening. And so my agreement was with my spiritual team that if those 2 things slid by me, then event 3 would happen, and event 3 is the big wake-up call. But it takes sometimes, for some of us like me, who is very stuck in my rut and very stuck in my daily
Well, you're so
life.
busy, heads down, you know.
Yeah, you're focused in on living day to day, that it takes sometimes a big hit. For me, literally, it was a hit to kind of shock me out of that. Like, whoa, you know, things don't need to be that way anymore. You know, that's not the way life is.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and I don't think this is this way for everybody. I've met a lot of people who have made really big transitions gradually over time. And that's the way I recommend it.
Yeah, me too.
This stuff is it can be very traumatic.
But I remember before it going, what do you want? What do you want? You want something, I don't know what you want. Be more clear. I don't get it. I'm just going to go on and do what I'm doing. And it was like, what do you want? What do you want from me? Like, tell me. I don't get it. Tell me. Be clear. Nothing,
well,
you know?
For me, it was a disconnect between my spiritual self and myself here in this physical plane, meaning I wasn't knowing and being true enough to my own self inside. I was so disconnected from who I really was that it didn't matter what guidance was coming into me, like, hello, wake up. I didn't hear any of that because I was so disconnected from myself. And I think a lot of people get that way. You know, it's easy just to ignore, like you said, we're heads down in our lives, but we don't even sometimes step back to question, is this the life that I really feel drawn to live?
Yeah.
Is this the real me?
I think that's why so many people keep searching for their purpose and going to other people going, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? Can you tell me what it is?
Yeah, exactly. Right? And you and I can't tell someone else what their purpose is. And, you know, but that's again, going in and taking the time and giving yourself the opportunity to say, you know what, this life that I've been living isn't really the one that fits me very well. Or I need to make a little adjustment here or there. It doesn't need to be, you know, hugely altering, but from what I can see for myself and a lot of people, we're disconnected. We're told by society what it is that we should be or should want or should do.
Yeah.
And we allow that to become the way that we live our lives and ignore what's coming from here.
Yeah,
you know?
that's our socialized self, right? I mean, and that started when we were young. Our parents told us what to do. School told us what to do. Society tells you what to do and who to be and how to act. And so often that voice inside us gets lost because we're like, they're not going to be happy if I do that. Other people won't be happy with me if I do. So you just do what everybody wants you to do, and you toe the line instead of being yourself.
Yeah, and over time you really get disconnected from yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
And the longer that goes on, the harder it is to get back to who you really are.
Yeah. So you have this mission now. They gave you like 12 rules, kind of, or 12 things to know.
Tips, things to know.
And they're like, okay, go out and teach the world, or teach yourself and then teach the world, spread the word.
It was really, teach myself. And that was the first big step, was you need to learn this for yourself. Mm-hmm. You need to make your life the one that you want it to be. And here are some of the things to think about and do. And so that was a big challenge for me to start integrating that into my life. Like, what am I going to learn from this? What does this mean for me? But then it was a natural evolution. It wasn't like, they didn't say you must go teach. It was more naturally evolving. So as I felt like I was learning from it, the way that I best learn from things like this is I write about it. That's just how I am. I journal all the time. I write stuff down. That's how my brain processes things. That's how my brain kind of brings things into my body. And so I started writing about it, like I told you. And then I started, people asked me about it on Facebook, interestingly enough. I made mention that I had a really interesting experience in surgery. And so some of my Facebook friends wanted to hear more about it. So I said, okay, that's fine. I started to write a little blog for them. So I wouldn't have to keep writing it over and over again. I just wanted to point people to one place.
Yeah. So
I just put a little blog together and started writing about it really briefly in this blog. And the more people, I wouldn't say it was viral, but it just spread organically from person to person. And the more people read my brief synopsis of what happened, they said, well, I want to know more. I want to know more. And then I realized that the medium of this blog wasn't really conducive to doing what I wanted to do, which is explain the whole thing front to, beginning to end, and all of the little permutations that I learned. So that's when the book idea really took hold and I had been, I would say, adamantly against writing a book. I really didn't want to do it. I was like, kicking and screaming. Again, I just didn't want to write a book about it because I felt, it was a lot of personal stuff.
Yeah.
And why would anybody else want to hear it anyway? I mean, that's what I was thinking, like, who's going to care about this?
But you didn't go back to work.
I tried.
Yeah.
I actually did try.
But it wasn't going to happen for you.
Yeah.
I never went back to my old job either.
It couldn't. It just could. I mean, physically, the physical trauma on something like that takes more than a couple of weeks to get over. And so for me, the physical stuff took probably 18 months to maybe 2 years to fully resolve. So, just even thinking about working during that amount of time wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So I had all this free time and I was painting a little bit, but that's when the book really started to take hold, is when I could no longer work. And I made peace with the fact that I could no longer work and had to let go of that old job. And then started back in writing about it in depth. And the more I wrote about it, the more it evolved and it came out. It was almost like, how did that happen?
Why are we so thirsty for information about what happens when we die? I mean, it's a big mystery. It's a great mystery, but people are like dying to know.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't know about you, but for me, when I grew up, I grew up as a Catholic in the Roman Catholic faith, and they didn't really teach us about this stuff. It was very clear cut. There was heaven and there was hell. And if you were a bad person, you were going to go to hell. And pretty much everybody was a bad person. So pretty much everybody was going to go to hell. And so I grew up thinking, well, there's no way that I'm going to have a good outcome to this whole death thing.
So I may as well not be
go to hell. But that's when I started moving away from it. But I think a lot of people, it's funny because a lot of people who are most afraid of death are the ones that claim to be the most religious.
Yeah.
That I've met personally. And I've met so many devout whatevers. It doesn't matter what religion, but I've met so many devout people who are terrified to die because they're not taught what comes after, mostly because people don't know. And it isn't that we don't know, it's that we don't give a lot of credence to people like me sometimes. And people like me have been around for a long time. I mean,
I've always
I'm
believed
nothing
in
new.
reincarnation. Always believed in it. So I was like, I'm coming back. My husband said, I'm never coming back. I said, I've been here so many times. I'm coming back.
Done.
I enjoy it. But you know what? Like I if you believe in it, and I do, then you know that it's not the end, and energy doesn't die. And so like all of these things can be said. But yeah, I don't know if you go where you think you're going to go, or if you go like you did to where they tell you you're going to go, but you're going to go someplace. And
yeah, I think, from what I've seen, it's a mix of stuff, and it depends on you. It depends on what you need. And
like an evaluation at the end, right?
Right. Yeah, there is. There's a time to decompress. There's a time to kind of integrate heal, learn, let go. There's a big letting go period. We have to let go of this life in order to fully move on to what comes next. We have to let go to our stranglehold on it. And that's that initial stages like I was in. I was in those initial stages where if I was supposed to die for real, that would be my letting go. That would be my, what did you learn from your life type of stage, But
you were ready to go. You didn't think, oh, my daughter and my friend, my family, like you were ready to let it go.
Because it was so beautiful. It was really so beautiful.
Yeah.
Have
you ever experienced anything like that here since?
Not fully, no. I mean, I've certainly been in meditative type states or prayer type states where I've touched on it, but not fully, no.
I had a really bizarre experience at a restaurant, and I've been taking an intensive spiritual mastery course for the last 10 months. And I was sitting in this restaurant, and my husband had gone to the washroom, and I just looked around, and all of a sudden, I just saw everybody in there as souls, not people. It was their souls, and how beautiful their souls were. And it didn't matter what they looked like anymore. They were just these spiritual beings, and I had so much love for each and every one of them. It didn't last that long, and then, I came back, but it was like,
yeah,
that's what it feels like.
That's powerful. It is. Yeah, it's too bad that we can't. At least for me, I don't have that at will. I have an incredible love for everyone and an incredible love for this physical place, whatever this is. I mean, we call it Earth, but just the entire realm of physical existence, whatever that is. I have an incredible love for it. When I first came back, I was able to see like energetic connections. Now it's a little bit harder for me to see those things, but I certainly don't go around seeing. I mean, I know people are souls.
Yes,
I know it here and here, but I don't necessarily see it. That's just not my gift. At least it doesn't seem to be.
So this idea of going, let's say, from third dimension head to fifth dimension heart, and people are trying to work towards this heart-centered reality for themselves, which is this, looking at things through your heart, waking up the heart, intentional. Is that a lesson that you learned? Is that something that they want people to know, to do?
It is, but all of the stuff that I learned fed into that. So that's kind of like the overarching lesson that wasn't explicitly taught, but all of the stuff that I learned feeds into that. And things like, the practice of a daily practice of gratitude. And at first it sounds weird to say that. It sounds weird. It sounded weird to me that they kept insisting, start a spiritual practice. And I didn't understand why. I just trusted that what they were saying has some value, obviously. But they taught me things like the importance of gratitude, not just saying thank you and going off with your day, but actually feeling gratitude in here. It begins to, again, like you just said, put you in that place of being heart-centered. It's a very easy way to get present in the now, to focus on what's going well in your life, and to start feeling into that heart-centered space that we all have. And so they kept insisting to me, start a practice. It doesn't have to be complicated, but just start a regular practice and you'll see what we're talking about. And so for me, all of the stuff that they taught, the gratitude, learning how to be in a place of love in every moment, learning how to connect with other people and to form a community around you, learning that the power that you have in every moment, the power of choice, is an incredible spiritual power, not just a physical power, but a spiritual power. So all of those things incrementally feed into a heart-centered life and a heart-centered spiritual life as well. And it allows us to, what I call, bringing that sense of heaven or spiritualness to our lives on earth.
Did you know Ken Elliott before your accident?
No, I didn't. I did not. In fact, we were put in touch on Facebook through some other a person that we both knew together. When I started, when I told you I was just starting to just drop little bits of information about what I experienced, this man put us in touch with each other and said, Scott said, you really need to talk to Ken. Because at that point I was really struggling with what this was all about. I had no idea. And so Ken, he's an artist in Colorado, for those of you who don't know.
And an author.
Wonderful author, and just a good guy. And
he was on my show a couple years back. You guys can check it out. Ken Elliott, Manifesting 1, 2, 3, and you don't need the 3.
And he just helped me, I think, get on a good path of finding the people that I needed to find in order to help me kind of take the next step spiritually. He put me in touch with an organization called IANS, which is the International Association for Near-Death Studies. Okay. And they really helped me understand I wasn't a crazy person when I came back.
Are you more psychic now? intuitive?
I think I allow it more. And I say that because I think I was before. I just didn't allow it to happen.
Yeah.
And now I just allow it to happen because I know it's a natural part of our spiritual lives. You know, everybody has a different gift. But before, I thought that stuff's crazy. I don't want to deal with it. And so then, you know, when you have a gift like that and you ignore it, it gets quieter. It doesn't go away, but it gets quieter.
Yeah.
But then when you pay attention to it again, it kind of
expands,
reasserts itself, and that's basically what's been happening.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Your artwork is beautiful, really beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Turn the camera, show us the horse.
Oh, it's okay. Don't get sick when I turn it, but let me see if I can get this.
Oh, yeah.
Can you see it?
I can see it. It's just beautiful. Yeah. So did you study art, or was this natural talent, or when did you start doing art?
I started doing art when I was probably 5 years old.
Oh, okay.
We grew up on a farm, and I used to draw and sketch. I had my little sketchbook with me. My dog would go out with me into the farm, and we'd just go out and do stuff. But I did go to art school in Chicago. And then, again, society told me that there's no way you're going to make a living at it. And so I went after art school, then I went into study the sciences after art school. And that's where I got the whole science thing going.
You really are left and right brain.
I was, yeah. And so I had that. I again, it was like the psychic stuff. I had that art gift.
Yeah.
But I mostly ignored it. I mean, I puttered around with it, but I wasn't really serious about it.
Oh my gosh.
Until I had, you know, until I had this experience, and now I can't shut it off.
That's awesome.
It's coming all the time, which I love.
I didn't start painting until after my accident, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. But I love it.
That happens. You know, that kind of thing happens. For me, it was more like just the floodgates open on what was already there. But I've heard that from other people, that maybe they're musical now after an accident, or they paint, or they write books or whatever. But yeah, sometimes these accidents really shake loose our creative ability.
I think I always was creative, but I was a drummer before my accident. I couldn't sit down anymore, and I couldn't sit on the throne. You know, I was just, everything was broken down there. So, I guess painting is a meditative state, and kind of helped with the pain. You know, because I have really bad chronic pain. So
it is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was. I do it now as it is kind of a meditation. I'm in a total zone whenever I paint. And I know that if I'm not in the zone, then I might as well put my paintbrush down and walk away, because it's going to be, you know, not a great day at the easel. But for the most part, that time at the easel is a meditative state for me. And so that's what it's kind of it's sort of an addiction in a way, in that in order for me to feel complete, I need that time at the easel to just be in that creative zone where it's like I feel it coming in and just coming out through my hands and expressing itself.
Yeah, I've never painted with oil. I guess there's new oils now, but I don't react well to smells, strong smells. But I love the look of it. Love the look of it. I paint with acrylics, but I understand there's new water oils or something, which is kind of weird.
You might as well stick with acrylics, because the water-based oils are they're
not good.
Really weird.
Yeah.
They're really sticky.
Okay.
Goopy.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like them.
You don't like them? I love the luminosity that you get with oil, though. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. So let's go through just a few more because we got a few minutes of love everybody. What else in the gratitude? You know, be grateful and like truly grateful from your heart. What else do we? And there's so many of you people from Colorado getting inspired with all this. Is crazy. I don't know what it is about Colorado. I guess you need a lot. You have shooters, and then you have these like angels.
It's the high altitude and a lot of sun.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. So what other tokens of I don't know what we want to call them. What do you call it? Not rules. They're not rules, but they're
they're guidances.
Guidances.
They're yes. I don't know what to call them. Insights.
Messages for a better life. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, one of them that's really interesting that they left me with is to have fun.
Oh, okay.
To enjoy your life, to enjoy your life as much as you can, because no matter how many times you might reincarnate, you're never going to be this you ever again, because
Yeah, I keep
right
saying
now
that to
are
people.
unique combination,
Yeah, yeah,
and the message was, yeah, you can spend time being spiritual or learning about spirituality, but take time to have fun too. Enjoy as much as you can. Be with your family or friends and be with them, not on the phone while you're sitting at the beach
yeah,
or something, but really take time to be with those people you care about and do stuff you enjoy. And one of my guides said to me, I don't remember exactly the words that he used, but it was like he said, if you enjoy something, do it more.
yeah, yeah. I love
Don't
that. I
deny it.
love that because, oftentimes people who are really religious get into this austerity mode where you're not supposed to have any fun. Fun is bad, and
Right.
it's just work, 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 and then sleep and work, work, work. And why do they think we're here? I always said, do people really think they're here to go to work from 9 to 5? Like, I mean, is that our purpose, to come here and just work like a beast and then go to bed? I mean, it sounds so ridiculous to me that's life. I met people, who've never been anywhere more than 5 miles from their home in their whole entire life, and I think, oh my gosh, like,
There's
go.
a world out
There's a
there.
world out there. Go and
Yeah,
explore
and
it.
enjoy it, and enjoy how, in whatever way you can. Like, I like to paint, and so for me, being at the easel is not work. I
Yeah,
love it. I love being outside. I like taking my daughter to events that she loves to be. Even though I might not like to go to the same
yeah,
concert she does, I'll still take her because I enjoy being with her. I love being with her.
yeah.
To take the time to sit outside for lunch. And here I'm in Seattle right now, and it's raining like crazy.
It's
But
raining
whenever
here too.
there's a beautiful afternoon, I'll go outside and I'll sit for even 5 minutes and just look at the sun coming through the trees and enjoying it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like, okay, well, this is my day to be fun and happy. Even just a few minutes, get outside and enjoy it, um, and just learn. In that way, you learn to love your life. If you're in that austerity mode, I think it can be really easy to hate your life. I think the more that you can focus in on enjoying what you've got right now, yeah, you might not have the big fancy house that you think you want or
Yeah.
society tells you should want, but guess what? If you've got a roof over your heads, it's a pretty good day, right? And so enjoy it and enjoy
My,
what
my
you
husband,
can.
my husband's family were, in his I guess not adopted, but his mother had remarried a number of times, and so they were Mormon. And one of the last family was very strict, and the dad had never gone to a movie in his life, didn't listen to music, like, just everything was just so austere. And he goes, like, all that life they missed out on, that they thought God wanted them to not listen to or know, or, like, how crazy, like, my whole philosophy is, if God gave it to us to think about, then it's for us to do, right?
Right.
Like doctors, like, don't go to doctors. Well, you know what, you wouldn't be smart enough to figure stuff out if God didn't want you to. So, you know what, he gave you that knowledge so that you could be healed, or, all of these things. So, yeah, I mean, to think, I grew up in Jewish background, and I gave it up when I was 12, but the Kabbalah says you're supposed to enjoy life. You're supposed to enjoy
Yeah.
sex. You're supposed to enjoy life. You're supposed to, have a drink. You're supposed to just have a good time. And otherwise, what's the point of being here? You could just be
Yeah, this
today.
isn't a prison planet.
Yeah, it's not a prison planet. I wear my stripes today, but it's not a prison planet.
No, it's not a prison planet. But it is what you make it. Now, I have to keep in mind that there are people right now, and goes back to the gratitude thing. There are people in this world right now that don't have the options that you and I have.
This is so
And so
true.
I feel a responsibility to try to help them out as
I do
much as I
too.
can, and to bring up the whole level of this society so that they can also experience that as well. So, those with the greatest amount of what I call those. Let's see, those with the greatest amount of things in their lives, gifts, have the greatest amount of responsibility to share them and to also kind of lift other people up.
And if you don't
But
even
that's a
want to give it
joy.
away monetarily, like just be
Time.
positive, put that positivity out
Yeah.
in the world. And like those poor people who are, you know, storming the gates, you know, in Ysidro right now, they need a home. They need not to be afraid every day of their lives. You know,
Yeah.
open up your hearts to them, and just imagine yourself being one of those people who, if you went home, you were going to be shot and killed, and your children would be shot and killed. Why would you be so afraid of them?
Yeah.
Why would you be so
Yeah.
afraid? Yeah.
Yeah,
You
go
know?
into those spaces and help. You know, you're right. Even helping out via a prayer or gifting your energy to the world, your loving energy to the world, really does help.
Yeah.
It does. Even if you, I mean, I can sometimes afford to gift monetarily more than some other people can, so I do that. But I also gift with my intent
Yeah.
and my spirit as much as I can.
Yeah, I was something I decided with my artwork that I could gift in, you know, so I give money to Mercy Ships and pay for surgery, for
Mm.
clip out surgery if I sell art, and that's one of the things I like to do with it, because I can, you
Yeah.
know, because I can, and other people can find other ways that they can volunteer or gift money or however they want to do it, right? But absolutely, you're absolutely right. It's a good thing to do. So be grateful, love one another, put out positive energy, be optimistic, have fun with life. And those are some great words. Those are some great advice from heaven. So, hey,
Yeah.
from the green room, not even from heaven, just from the green room. When do you get to the big show?
That's right. I'm sure I'll learn more, but I won't be able to tell you.
Yeah, exactly. Nancy, thank you so much for being on the
Thank
show
you.
today. Such great wisdom. And
Thank
your
you.
book, your book again is, I can see it in the background,
Awakenings from the Light. That's what the cover looks
Awakenings from
like.
the Light, and you can go on to Amazon and all the bookstores, and you can grab it there in hardcover and ebook. And your website is the same, correct?
NancyRynes.com. NancyRynes.com.
There you go. Well, all the best for your future, and I'm sure it'll be bright as it is now. And thank you again for being on the
Thank
show.
you.
Everybody, we're going to leave Facebook. We'll see you on the other side.